95. The clock is ticking past the 94th minute. Your lungs are burning, the rain is pouring down, and, over 42,000 fans are absolutely screaming at the top of their lungs. Time is literally running out. That was the exact reality on the pitch during what has to be one of the most intense, suspense-filled finishes we've seen so far in this tournament. Welcome to the 95th minute at Toronto Stadium.
Okay, let's dive into this. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the sheer cinematic drama of the 2026 World Cup Group L clash between Ghana and Panama. Because honestly, this wasn't just a football match. It was a grueling test of tactical endurance, physical sacrifice, and ultimately a last-gasp miracle that completely flipped the script right when everyone in the stadium thought the story was already written. Let's set the stage chronologically and just go back to the beginning. June 17th, 2026, BMO Field, or as we know it for this tournament, Toronto Stadium. It was a wet, surprisingly chilly evening in Canada, but man, the atmosphere was absolutely boiling over. Imagine a deeply divided crowd of exactly 42,942 fans packed into the stands. On one side, you've got this sea of bright red Panama shirts. On the other, the vibrant yellow of Ghana's loyal supporters. The energy was totally electric. But for Ghana, there was this dark cloud looming before a single ball was even kicked. That dark cloud, it was the missing piece of their midfield puzzle, Thomas Partey. The star midfielder was noticeably absent from the lineup due to a Canadian travel ban and visa issues while he awaits trial in England. And just for context, he has pleaded not guilty to those charges, but strictly on the pitch, this legal situation forced Ghana to adapt without one of their most experienced anchors right in the center of the park. And Panama? Well, they realized this gap and wasted absolutely zero time taking advantage. Which brings us right into Act 1, the Blue Siege. Right from the opening whistle, Panama implemented this slow, clinical dominance that just suffocated Ghana. The secret behind the siege was manager Thomas Christensen's brilliant in-possession shape. Panama set up in a 3-2-5 formation, and it was designed specifically to counter Ghana's deep, mid-to-low 4-1-4-1 zonal marking block. It was like a giant puzzle, and Panama had all the pieces. Whenever Ghana tried to press, Panama just found passing lanes everywhere. They effortlessly placed players not just between the lines, but precisely between the Ghanaian defenders. This created a massive numerical advantage that allowed them to casually build out from the back. And you can really see exactly what that tactical mismatch looked like when we break down the game stats. Just think about the massive blue wave Ghana desperately had to survive. Panama held a staggering 62% possession. They completed 502 passes. Compare that to Ghana's roughly 300. Plus, they outshot the Black Stars 11-7. Ghana was basically trapped in their own half, entirely at the mercy of Panama's offensive rhythm. To understand just how deep this control went, we only really need to look at one number, 101. That's the number of passes completed by Panamanian defender Jose Cordoba. Get this, at just 25 years old, Cordoba became the third youngest player at a 2026 World Cup match to attempt 100 or more passes in a single game. He just sat back and orchestrated the game like a veteran maestro. It's absolute proof of Panama's unyielding control over the tempo. But, every siege has a hero holding the gates. And for Ghana, that hero was Lawrence Adizigi. The Ghanaian goalkeeper was under immediate fire. He was forced into this brilliant diving save against Cecilia Waterman just 2 minutes into the match. He spent the entire first half absorbing relentless pressure, anticipating crosses, and physically clashing with Panamanian forwards. He paid a really heavy physical toll for his heroics and actually had to be substituted at halftime due to injury. But before he left, he single-handedly kept his team from drowning. So, moving on to Act 2, High Rose's masterstroke. With Adizigi keeping the score level, the narrative completely shifted. Carlos Queiroz, Ghana's 73-year-old manager, who, by the way, is remarkably coaching at his 5th successive World Cup, did not mince words about the first 45 minutes. He bluntly called his team out, saying they were naive and not aggressive in the first half. He knew they were relying entirely on survival tactics. They desperately needed a spark. Well, Queiroz knew exactly which buttons to push. The turning point arrived in the 58th minute when he executed a brilliant double substitution, bringing on Abdul Fatabu and Brandon Thomas Asante. Now, this wasn't just a swap of tired legs. This was a complete structural reimagining of Ghana's attack that would finally put Panama on their heels.
Let's break down the step-by-step tactical shift that broke the game wide open. First, Thomas Asante comes on to play directly off of Jordan Ayew as a second striker. This gave Ayew the support he desperately needed up top. Second, this tweak allowed Antoine Semenyo to shift back to his natural position out on the wing. And third, Semenyo is suddenly given total freedom to drift inside. This newfound space totally unleashed Semenyo, allowing him to dominate the play, which actually ultimately led to him being named man of the match.
Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast in Ghana's tactical evolution across the two halves. Think about the first half. Ghana was completely reactive. They were relying solely on Jordan Ayew winning these isolated aerial battles just to get the ball out of their own territory. But the second half, it was a masterclass in adaptation. Ghana adopted a patient approach. They purposely invited Panama's pressure to create gaps and then ruthlessly found space right behind their defensive line,
which sets the stage perfectly for Act 3, the 95th minute miracle.
As we hit the final stretch, the tension inside Toronto Stadium was absolutely palpable. Both teams were exhausted, the rain was still falling, and the desperation was mounting with every single touch of the ball. Just mapping out the late-game tension. At 60 minutes, Panama's Carlos Martinez gets a beautiful look but flashes his shot into the outside netting. 5 minutes later, Ghana nearly breaks through, but Panama's Giovanni Ramos makes an absolutely heroic, goal-saving sliding tackle. And then, the 90th minute hits. Injury time begins, the score is deadlocked at 0-0. Both sides look completely drained, seemingly ready to just settle for a frustrating, grinding draw.
But then, lightning strikes. In the 95th minute, substitute Brandon Thomas Asante finds a sudden, explosive burst of energy. He breaks completely free down the left side, driving hard and fast right into the penalty area with Panama's defenders desperately scrambling to catch him. He looks up, cuts the ball back, and squares it perfectly across the box for Caleb Urenki. The 20-year-old defensive midfielder, who had pushed all the way up the pitch, meets the ball and taps it home. A buzzer-beating, heart-stopping winner in the dying seconds of the game. The Ghanaian bench completely erupts in absolute delirium. It's moments like these that remind us why we love the human element of this sport. Just listen to the sheer disbelief and joy in Caleb Urenki's post-game reaction. He said, "I ran forward and then hoped to see what comes. I got the ball in the box and finished." I mean, a 20-year-old kid playing in the World Cup, scoring his first international goal to win the game in the 95th minute, it's simply incredible.
But as manager Carlos Queiroz perfectly summarized, this historic moment came at a massive cost. With the football we play today, he said, we can count on Ghana to do something. It was a victory built on Ati Zigi's painful first-half sacrifice, on relentless physical grit, and on the sheer willpower to survive Panama's early onslaught. They suffered, they adapted, and they somehow found a way to win.
So the crucial point is this. Ghana survived the Blue Siege, but the road ahead is absolutely mountainous. Is this gritty, last-second victory the exact spark the Black Stars need as they prepare to face Group L giants England and Croatia? Or did the physical toll of this match completely drain the tank? That is the provocative question hanging over the rest of this tournament. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for what happens next.